You know that feeling when life starts to feel off, when the old map no longer fits and you're not sure what comes next? That's the pivot calling, that recognition moment, the nudge that something needed to change. That often comes first. It's that quiet sense that the life you're living no longer quite matches who you are now. And when everyone around you seems to have a plan, a career path, a life plan, a perfect version of adulting, and you're just pausing, rethinking, pivoting, yeah, that's Gen X right now. We're not lost. We're not late. We're not failing. We're pivoting. Not in some hesitant, wishy washy way, but in a full on life redesigning way. I was out on a walk the other day, just reflecting on the last decade or so, and it hit me. I didn't even recognise the life I'd built. The question that kept coming back was, is this really it? And that's when I realised that's the pivot call in. Here's the thing no one really tells you about being Gen X. We spent decades building the rules of the so called adult life, careers, mortgages, families, responsibilities, routines. And now, those rules don't quite fit anymore. For some of us, that shows up clearly around work. For others, it shows up in the life we've built around it. Our kids might be grown, our roles may have levelled out or shifted in ways we didn't expect. Energy has changed. Suddenly, we're looking ahead at the next chapter thinking, do we really have to keep doing this in exactly the same way for the next 10 or 20 years? It's the kind of thought we usually keep to ourselves. But here's the truth, we're restless. Not because something is wrong, but because something is changing. That feeling of going through the motions, ticking boxes, doing all the right things and still wondering if something's missing. That's not a flaw, that's a signal. Have you ever finished your day absolutely exhausted, yet somehow not fulfilled? Your energy's spent, but something inside you still restless. That quiet nudge, that's your life asking for a pivot. The first real pivot for a lot of us is redefining success. We grew up in the climb the ladder, pay your dues era. Work hard, stick it out, do the sensible thing, and maybe, if you're lucky, you'll enjoy a comfortable future at the end of it all. But that ladder, it isn't straight anymore. It's twisted, digital, uncertain. And honestly, that's not a bad thing because this is our moment to decide what success actually means now. Not when we were 20, not according to someone else's rules. Now. Success isn't just a senior title or a healthy pension, it's flexibility, autonomy, time. Waking up and knowing your choices reflect your life, not someone else's checklist. Maybe success now is stepping back a little, changing the pace, creating more space for the parts of life that were always squeezed to the edges. When was the last time you stopped and asked yourself, am I chasing my idea of success or someone else's? Yes, pivoting here takes courage. You might step away from comfort, from familiarity, but what you gain is freedom. Gen X, we're more than ready. We survived dial up internet, floppy disks, and learning TikTok against our will. And midlife pivot, we'll manage it. The second pivot is reinvention. Here's something we don't often admit. Our identity gets wrapped up in what we do, or what we used to do. Our role, our label, the way people introduce us. So when that starts to shift, it can feel unsettling. But it's not a loss, it's an opening. We're realising skills aren't just for climbing ladders anymore. They're for building entirely new paths. That thing you avoided, the interest you dismissed, the idea you parked years ago, it's all still there, waiting. I've seen people in their 40s and 50s start something new, change direction, learn for the sake of learning, or rediscover parts of themselves they thought were gone, and they're thriving. Reinvention isn't dramatic, it's quiet. It starts with curiosity, then experimentation, then confidence, and suddenly you're pivoting again. Not because you're lost, but because you're alive. It's not about getting it right, it's about giving yourself permission to try, to learn, to adjust, to evolve. Ask yourself, what have I always wanted to explore but never gave myself permission to? That's usually where the pivot begins. The third pivot runs deeper, purpose and connection. Gen X has always been a bridge generation. We remember life before digital. We adapted to everything after it. We've held things together, often quietly, often without credit. Now we're asking a different question. Not just what do I do, but who do I want to be in this next chapter? And how do I want my life to feel? Connection isn't about being busy. It's about being intentional. Purpose isn't about impressing anyone, it's about alignment. This might look like guiding someone else, giving time where it matters, or re engaging with people or communities that actually energise you. It's about letting go of external validation and tuning into what genuinely matters now. I like to think of life as a garden. Some plants you've nurtured for years, they're thriving. Some need pruning, and some new seeds are waiting to be planted. Pivoting is simply about tending to all of it with care. And sometimes, right in the middle of it, life nudges you, like a sat nav, quietly saying, recalculating. Not because you've gone wrong, but because there's a better route from where you are now. And that's what pivoting really is, not a mistake, not a disruption, just a course correction that finally makes sense. Here's the thing, pivoting isn't just a one off moment, it's a rhythm, a mindset, a way of moving through this next chapter. And for Gen X, that rhythm is only just beginning. In the next video, we'll talk about what this looks like in practice, how to start, what gets in the way, and how to keep going when doubt creeps in, even when the new map hasn't fully formed yet. For now, remember this, pivoting isn't failing, it's evolving. And if you've been feeling restless, uncertain, or quietly ready for change, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Because Gen X, we aren't slowing down, we're pivoting, and the best is still ahead.